the Mini Pro and the M2, which machine is better for you? Hi everyone, my name is Sebastien Lagree. I'm the creator and founder of Lagree Fitness and the Megaformer. Today I want to talk to you about the difference between the M2 on my right side and the new Mini Pro on my left side. Okay, so the M2 came out in about 2012, around then, and the Mini Pro is about to come out this year. So there's about a 10 years difference in research and developments for these two machines. And that's very important because you're going to see how far we've come with the Mini Pro. All right, so first glance, you have these two machines, and I'm going to step out a little bit, and then you can see that they're very similar in length. So I'm going to talk about the length first. The M2 is 125 inches in length. If you go from the bracing bar, which is in front of the M2, to the back, which is there's also another bracing bar, you are 125 inches in length. However, the usable length of the M2 is not 125 inches, it's 118 inches. So if you look from the front of the platform to the back of the platform, you are about 118 inches in length. The Mini Pro is 117 inches in length, so it's 1 inch shorter. The Mini Pro is 1 inch shorter than the M2. So if you look at the top, from the tip of the front platform to the tip of the rear platform, you're at 117 inches long. Now, of course, on the M2, the rear platform comes with it. On the Mini Pro, you can decide to not have the rear platform. So if you do not have the rear platform on the Mini Pro, your length is now cut to 103 inches. But if you have the rear platform, your length is 117 inches, okay? The rear platform is optional on the Mini Pro. So that's only 1 inch difference. 1 inch difference really between the Mini Pro and the M2. Now, obviously the M2 looks much bigger, and that's because it's standing off the ground. So the height of the M2 is 17 inches. So from the top of the surface all the way down to the ground, you're at 17 inches in height. For the Mini Pro, 6 inches from the tip or the top of the surface to the floor, 6 inches. So you have an 11 inches difference between the M2 and the Mini Pro. And that's what gives the M2, I think, just the fact that it looks so much bigger. It's because it's really off the ground. Now, by the way, this year, we are going to have a kit for the Mini Pro, which will lift the Mini Pro the exact same height as the Mini. So you will be able to have the same height if you want to for the Mini Pro, so that's coming. So here's the Mini Pro with the leg kit. So the leg kit, the lift kit, sorry, is this over here, okay? So now you're seeing how the Mini Pro is when it's flat on the ground against the M2. The M2 looks considerably bigger, so the M2 looks like a commercial machine, right? Even though the Mini Pro is also commercially graded. But now, once you add the legs to the Mini Pro, look at these two machines and tell me which one is smaller. They're the same size. You look at those two machines, they're going to require the same amount of square footage space. 100 square feet to use the M2, 100 square feet to use the Mini Pro. So fully assembled like this, you're looking about 5,000, 5,100. The M2, when we were selling it new, was $6,900. So you have about a $1,900, $2,000 price difference between those two machines, right? And for some of you to think, oh, it's $2,000. But when you ship this machine, you can ship this one via FedEx, okay? So you can ship this one ground, whatever, overnight. You can't do this. This one has to ship in a crate, and this one has to ship via freight. So you're already going to save on the price of the machine, and now you're already going to save on the cost of shipping as well. But beside those differences, right? Machine is up now. It looks like a Mega, but it's not, but it is, kind of, right? And look at the design. So now we have the same height, right? And look at the functionality of the machine. The platform there doesn't move, right? It has the springs underneath and that's it. Over here, we have the Ring of Fire. So we have a wider platform with the Ring of Fire, with the addition of the platform that pivots. It's absent from the M2. Carriage, the Carriage is about the same size. The M2 Carriage is slightly longer by a few inches, but that's it. M2 doesn't have the Ring of Fire. Mini Pro has the Ring of Fire. M2 doesn't have the platform that pivots. The Mini Pro has the platform that pivots. Springs, we have the super fast springs that we have on the Evo. On the M2, you still have to go on the front, open the platform, change your springs, close the platform, and then go back to the exercise. So now we have the super fast already included in the Mini Pro. Then the rail itself, okay, so the Mini Pro usually lay flat on the ground, and you can incorporate the ground with the exercise, which you cannot do on the M2. Once you lift up the Mini Pro, you no longer can really incorporate the exercise on the ground, but you can still incorporate the exercise from the monorail. On the M2, there's no monorail, right? So it's all empty over here. So usually we'll put the neck strap and then we'll do some exercise like the side torso twist, the giant crunch. There's a few exercises you can do like this. But on the Mini Pro, I stand on that rail, no problem. I'm 240 pounds, 6'4". Now I can do my fifth lunge. I can do my express lunge standing on the rail. I don't have to stand on the platform. I can do so many more exercises incorporating the use of this monorail, even though the machine is at a higher level. By the way, when the Mini Pro is flat on the ground, you can't really do the scrambled eggs, but now that it's up, of course you can do the scrambled eggs, right? So now, with the Mini Pro, with the left kit, you can do every single movement that you do from the M2, every single. That's it, without exception. And more, because now you have all these other added features. And of course, on the back end, you have your side handholds over here, and then you have your platform that pivots on the back end with a ring of fire, and this is absent from the M2. By the way, if you ever decide to open a studio with the Mini Pro, I highly recommend to have the lift kit, because this is what's going to really give that presence, right? When the machine is flat on the ground, you don't get that presence, quote unquote. When the machine is up, you get the presence, okay? But you don't need a side handle. So, if you want to save some dollars, you can actually decide, you know what, I'll have the left kit, but I won't have the handles, right? So you can remove the handles and you're going to save about $600 from the purchase price already. So the Mini Pro is a great alternative to the Mega. If the Mega is arriving late, if the Mega is costing a little too much, even the license on the Mini Pro is half of what the license on the Mega is. The Mini Pro is a great alternative to the Mega. And it's not just a great alternative to the M2, it's also a great alternative to the M3 and the M3S. And then we're gonna do more videos showing you the difference between the Mini Pro and the M3 and M3S. Let's talk about the width for a second. The width of the Mini Pro is actually wider than on the M2. So from the side to the side, from the side handles, you are 29 inches in length. If you look at the handles on the M2, you're 28 inches in length. So this is 1 inch wider than the M2. Platform, same thing. The platform on the Mini Pro is 24 inches wide compared to 23 inches wide on the M2. So the platform on the Mini Pro is actually wider and bigger than the platform you have on the M2. M2 is 1 inch longer than the Mini Pro. Mini Pro is 1 inch wider than the M2. And then the M2 is 11 inches higher. Weight-wise, they're very comparable in weight. The Mini Pro is about 180, 190 pounds in weight. The M2 is about 250 pounds, 260 pounds in weight. So there's about like a 60, 70 pounds difference between those two machines. The Mini Pro has wheels on the front, and this is so that you can actually easily move it around. You can wheel it around back and forth. The fact that you can do this doesn't make this machine as portable as the Micro. This is just an easier way to kind of move it around, maybe change the placement a little bit. But this is not a machine that you're gonna just disregard after training. You're not gonna put this machine every single time, put it under the bed, hang it on the wall. It's the same thing as the M2 for that reason. So both machines, are gonna require a dedicated space. If you have the same amount of space, those two machines will fit, what I'm trying to say is those two machines will fit in the same amount of space. Why get M2 versus the Mini Pro, or the Mini Pro versus the M2? Well, number one is the M2 has been discontinued, so we don't make the M2 anymore. We supply the parts, we sell them restored as we get them back from licensees when they upgrade to another machine. So M2, we don't have the M2 that often in our warehouse, and we only sell them as restored. The Mini Pro has not even arrived yet, so these machines are going to arrive this summer, and then after that we're going to continue the productions. The Mini Pro is going to start basically this summer. This ended basically I think in 2015. This is when we stopped making the M2. Functionality wise, okay, this is packed with technology. The M2 was basically the follow-up of the M1. So I don't know if a lot of you saw the M1, but the M1 was basically the first megaformer that was a transition between the Proformer and the megaformer line. So this is based on the M1. The M1, where you see those eyelets, actually we had retractable shoulder rests. On the M1, you had basically this slimmer carriage, and then you had basically this shoulder rest that could pop up or get down, and this gave rise to basically the eyelets on the M2. So the M2 is it's a very simple design of it's probably the simpler design of all the megaformer line. The Mini Pro has a lot of really cool stuff to it. So let's talk about the front, for example. So on the platform, on the Mini Pro is wider than you have on the M2. The other thing that is different is you have the Ring of Fire. So the Ring of Fire is something that I slowly started to evolve when I made the M3. The M3 was released, I think, around 2014. On the M3, it was the first time I had put actually side rails on the carriage, and I realized how useful these rails were. So progressively from the M3 to the M3S, the M3K, the M3X, it had basically 2 side rails on the carriage, and I was using them a lot, and I realized, wow, those side rails are very useful. Maybe I should make them a little longer. So on the M3K and M3X, I started to do these side rails, so it kind of wrapped around the whole side of the megaformer. Eventually, I decided with the Evo to do a continuous bar, and that became the Ring of Fire. So the Micro, the Mini Pro, the Evo all have this continuous bar that goes around the carriage, and I decided to do it for the same thing for the platform. And that gives you an incredible 360 degrees of control over the platform. On the M2, the bar is absent. You can always put your hands around the edge, okay? And that's kind of what most people do. They'll put their hands flat on the platform, or they grab an edge. Here you have the same option on the Mini Pro. You can also put your hands on the pads itself, or you can grab the bar. So that Ring of Fire already, is a major improvement. The other improvement that we have of the Mini Pro is the fact that you have your platform that can just basically angle in all these different positions. With the inclusion of this platform, you almost don't need the side handles, because you could almost use the bar over here, the Ring of Fire, to do your exercise. Any exercise you would do, like catfish or spoon. So any exercise where you need to put your hands up on the handles, you can actually put them on the Ring of Fire. Also pay attention to this, right? So the side handles, which are bolted, only offer you a parallel position. So on the M2, you have the parallel position. You also can rotate your handlebars in the T-bar position. You can also bring the bar in on both sides, of course, right? And this gives you another parallel position. So that's the parallel position over here. That's reflected by this position. Now, there was a very popular position for the handles. When you turn the handles in, it's called the crossbar position. So we lost that when I started to do the static handlebars. And then, for example, on the Evo, you only have the options of grabbing the handles in a parallel position. Now, with the Mini Pro and maybe future versions of the Megaformer, you have your platform that you can bring all the way up to the level 6. And then now here you have recaptured the crossbar position. So now you have your crossbar position on the M2, and you also have your crossbar position on the Mini Pro. So if you want to do leg press or go into a bridge position, do a leg curls where your heels are on the bar, you can do this as well. Some people like to do the catfish and the French twist or the twister with the hands in basically on the crossbar position. So here you are again, you can also put your hands here. So the Mini Pro gives you a lot of options for hands placement, feet placement. And I would say that compared to the M2, the Mini Pro gives you way more hands position. When you're on the M2, you want to change the springs, you have to do this annoying thing. And this is why I made the quick release, the super fast, and the lightning springs on the other machines. So you have to lift up the platform, then you have to remove the springs, add the spring back in, and close the platform. This whole process can take forever in a class of 10, 12, 15, 20 people. Matter of fact, I do not recommend that you buy 20 M2s to operate in a single class. You're gonna go bananas, okay, because of the technology of the spring. So this was a direct descendant from the technology that used on the reformer, for example, because on all the reformers, you have to go on the front, you have to change your springs. That takes an incredible amount of time. So when you do a Lagree class, you don't have that luxury. And this is why now we have the lightning spring switch, which allows the teacher to change all the springs for all the students at the same time. So when I make machines, I'm very aware of the transition time. Everything has to be instantaneous. It has to work right there, and it has to be quick, okay? The way you change the springs on the Mini Pro are not like the M2. We're using the super fast spring change. So you have your sliders right there on the carriage. Sliders are connected to magnets. Magnets do all the work for you. It's beautiful, it's smooth, it's quick. You have 5 springs on the Mini Pro, 1 heavy, 2 medium, 1 light, 1 super light. On the M2, you have 6 springs. You have 2 heavy and 4 lights. Let's talk about the carriage for itself. So on the carriage, on the M2, again, very similar length. The M2's carriage is probably a few inches longer than the carriage on the Mini Pro. Like I said, you have basically, it's a flat, so there's not many places where you can actually anchor your hands, your elbows, your knees, your feet. You do have the eyelets over here, but that's about it. On the Mini Pro, you have the Ring of Fire, which gives you 360 degrees of literally control where you can put your hands, feet, and stuff like that. You also have the pads. You can grab the pads, you can grab the handles. You have 2 ways. So, maybe you can grab the pads as your shoulders are narrower, handles with your shoulders are broader, for example. And you also have this over here, and that is the platform included in the carriage, which is totally absent from the M2. So this is great because this allows you to basically get more into certain exercise. So if you do a skating or runner's lunge or squats or standing on the thighs, anything like this, you can actually use both the platform and the platform of the carriage to really get a great angle for your joints, and you get the full support. This is totally absent on the M2. This is not something that I thought of at the time, because you have to remember that the M2 is based on the M1. M1 is based on the Proformer. Proformer was inspired from the Reformer. So I'm still thinking kind of Reformer-like, The M2 and the evolution from the M2 to the M3 is what Lagree really began to set root, because this is when I started to allow myself to do things that were never done before on the machines, right? I did a lot of things that were new with the Proformer, but when I moved from the M2 to the M3, there was a huge gap in the evolution of the machine. There was a sudden gap right there. This came later. This came because of the Supra. So if you guys, I don't know if you've seen the studio we had in West Hollywood, but we have a studio where the machine was going up and tilted, and those angles taught me a lot. So then I started to recapture some of that technology here on the Mini Pro. Another great thing with the platform over here, including the carriage, is the fact that you can also do more exercise where your knees are like right over here and they're supported by that platform. And again, this is absent from the M2. So I feel like the Mini Pro is going to give more options for beginners, advanced, and intermediate and advanced students. So we have the carriage, Ring of Fire, super smooth. We have the Mini Pro on the monorail. This is something I wanted to get away from with the Megaformer line, and you'll see like the M4, the M5, Supra, Ultra, all function on the monorail. We also put the marks on the monorail so you can actually gauge the distance or the progress that you're making with the carriage. Mini Pro comes standard with the rubberized steel cable. These are available, of course, on the M2, but on the M2, you have to buy them separately. You only have 1 set of cable for the Mini Pro. You do have extensions for the cables, so you can use basically the same set of cables. You can use them as red cable or black cables. The red cables on the M2 are your shorter red cables, and they attach on the back end over here. So the M2 uses 2 types of cable: long cables, which are black, and then short cables, which we make red. So over here on the Mini Pro, you only have 1 set of cable, but the same set of cable can be extended. So you could essentially turn your cables into red cables or black cables, if that makes sense. So, and then of course, you have your handles at the end, which we don't have here on this model, but these handles, which are on the front, can also be put on the back. Okay, so that's not a problem. Here you have your handles that rotate. We do not have rotating handles, of course, on the Mini Pro, but you don't really need to, because now you also have your platform that also lifts up on the back end. So when you have the side handles and your platform, you can recreate basically pretty much every position that you have on the M2. It's just the difference with this is going to be way sturdier, because the problem with those handles is sometimes people don't understand they have to push down, and when you lift up, they just start to kind of rotate on their own. Okay, platform on the back, again, it's going to be a little bit bigger than the platform on the M2, and those are different. So now, first of all, let's talk about the price, okay? Because now we talk about the size. The number one reason why I made the Microformer and then the Mini and the Mini Pro is because a lot of people want to buy the Megaformer for the house, but they don't have the room for it, right? Obviously, if you have room for Mini Pro, you have room for Mega. So now you go to the next thing, okay? Price, okay? Both machines are going to be in the same space, in a dedicated space, and now you have the price. Well, the price of an M2, we don't, like I said before, we don't really make them anymore. We don't make them new. We only restore them as we get them back from a licensee or from a client. The price of an M2 is sometimes $7,000. It could be $8,000. It depends, but it's definitely in that price range, right? Between probably, I'd say, $6,500 all the way up to about $8,500. That's how much you can pay for a restored M2, okay? And then you have to buy your accessories, you have to crate the machine, and then you have to ship the machine. So very often, a single purchase of an M2 will take you way above $10,000, and that's for a restored machine. Mini Pro, you buy it in however you want. The price starts at $29.90, okay? So $10 short of $3,000. However, if it's fully loaded, which we don't have over here with the side on the back end, but if we did, that version will be around close to like $4,100, $4,200. So it's a big price difference, about just already a 50% discount just on the machine itself. You don't have to create it. This comes already in a package. Shipping is going to be expensive in the US, but this is going to ship in 3 packages where you have basically the platform, the carriage, and the frame itself is going to ship separately. So you're going to have more assembly required. Well, actually, it's going to be the same amount of assembly required for the Mini Pro than the M2. It's just a different way to assemble it. So 3 packages just to keep the cost down and to be able to FedEx it. We cannot FedEx this machine. We have to send it via freight. So again, it double, triple your cost of shipping. Price-wise, you're going to save over 50% with the Mini Pro, but you're also going to get more machine than the M2. And that's when I wanted to talk about the 10-year difference between the M2 and the Mini Pro. The Mini Pro, for me, of course, is loaded with technology, things that I could not think about 10 years ago. But now that I have gained all this knowledge and expertise in the manufacturing of those machines, the Mini Pro really encompasses the best of what we could come so far. So the Mini Pro is a fantastic machine. Both machines are commercially graded. So the Micro, the Mini Pro, all the Megas, the Evo, Proformer, all commercial graded. That means that you can use them in a commercial setting. They are built to last, okay? Lots of people like to have the Mega at home because they want to say they have a Mega. And then in that case, the Mini Pro will not do. If you want a Megaformer at your house, then there's no substitute. Not even the copycats out there can say they are substitute because all their equipment sucks, okay? There's only a Mega, so if that's what you want in your living room, there's no replacement for a Mega, and then I get it, then get a Mega. But if you just want a great fucking machine, then I would consider the Mini Pro. And the Mini Pro is also a great machine whether you want to use it at home for yourself. It's a great machine if you're going to be, if you're a personal trainer and you have your own gym at your house. Again, you can do so much with these machines, right? The Mini Pro, you can do over 1,000 exercises. On the Mini Pro, you can do every exercise that you do on the M2, minus, of course, the exercise where you need the height. So like the scrambled eggs, for example. But you can also do all the exercises you do on the Micro. So all the lateral exercise, like the sea serpent, the hammerhead, the side sweep, all this exercise, we're literally standing on the side and do the exercise. That cannot be done on the M2 because the M2 is too far off the ground. So the Mini Pro really allows you to do everything you can do on the Micro, the Mini, and the Mega. It's as far as the functionality and the versatility of the equipment, the Mini Pro is the best, and it's better than the M2, it's better than the M3, and it's better than the Evo. You will do the most amount of stuff with the Mini Pro, that is for sure. You want a machine, you want a Micro maybe at the house, but you have a lot of room, then I'd say, get yourself, do a favor, you do a Mini Pro, you're fine. You have a small studio, you're a professional, personal trainer, Mini Pro is fine. You want to open a studio and you're not sure, you don't have a lot of room to play with, you're not sure if Lagree is going to work in that area, you really want a Lagree studio, you just don't want to spend, the huge licensing fee or the price on the machine, then here you are. You can open a studio with the Mini Pro. We have a lot of studios opening this year with the Mini Pro because these people are saving 50% on the license, they're saving 50% on the equipment, over 50% on shipping the equipment and so on. So the price of opening a studio now with the Mini Pro has drastically gone down. Okay, so that's also another consideration. So if you have any questions about the Mini Pro or the M2, please email us at info@lagreefitness.com. Again, my name is Sebastien Lagree. Thank you for watching. See you next time.